live. Yep. It does. It looks more organized, man. Just looking at this 1969 East West All Star game, man, it ain't much different, man. People just try to set these narratives, man, so it can fit whoever they're trying to push. Cause think about it,
That's
man. In
all.
the '90s was 30 years from today's ball, right? And we
Yeah.
don't think that ball was so off. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Oh
crazy
yeah.
how we use that stuff, man.
Oh, it's yeah. It's a use of yeah, I guess the manipulation of information. They want to use only parts and
Yeah.
pieces of what gonna have to gonna have to get on my boy. I talked those flowers. I'm gonna have to get on him. He and his brother do a podcast, so he ain't scared to get out here and say nothing. I'm gonna get him on.
Oh,
I'm gonna get on
oh,
here with
okay.
you so we can try to talk some sense into him.
Yeah, he running, man. He running. He been running like a track star. But
Yeah,
what's today, man? Oh, June 30th, 2023. And by the way, shout out to my boy Flowers, man. Terry, he doing a good job with stuff he doing. I've been watching him from afar. But yeah, we do all need to link up at some point. Um, Hopefully you can help be that linchpin there, Brundage. But yeah, we here, man. We're 41 Sports World Network. Brundage is back in the building with 411. And today, man, we're just gonna have a conversation, enjoy this Sunday afternoon, and talk WNBA. NBA draft is our main focus today, and what comes off of that, and little free agency talk. So that's what we're here for, man. Get the credits rolling, and we'll come back on the side and listen to what Brundage has to say about that draft. I know he enjoyed that number 55 pick. Yeah, we back. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you share, because sharing is caring. Do all that good stuff for us. Check us out on 411 Sports World Network on YouTube. Also, help us out on TikTok, Mr. 411, Mister 411, right there. Same thing on Instagram. It's the same thing. But then also 411 Sports World Network on YouTube, which is where we are now. Welcome, Brundage. Welcome back, by the way.
thank you, sir.
All right, man. How's your day?
Oh, so far so good. Sunday, like you said, just kind of a chill day. Kind of get your mind wrapped around the kind of work we're gonna have. It's gonna be, we got a holiday coming up, but that Friday, a lot of folks have to go back to work, and I'm on the fence
Oh,
about what
yeah.
I got going on. So yeah, so we just like I said, just getting ready for another work week, man. Out there grinding and banging.
There it is. All right, we're looking forward to it. 4th of July is Thursday. But yeah, man, right now, man, we're looking forward to the NBA free agency, which kicks off, I believe, around 4 o'clock today. So we'll talk about that too. But before that was the draft, and it was a 2-day draft this year, which was I thought that was pretty cool. Instead of that second round being like 11 o'clock at night and ain't nobody watching it, they at least moved it to the next day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, give it a better feel. Um, but yeah, man, let's get your thoughts, man. Let's jump right into the draft. Um, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks, man, because they had the number one pick. So, how did you feel about the Hawks and their selection of the number one pick?
So being a Hawks fan and proximity and growing up and having the Hawks, Braves, Falcons, all that stuff, you kind of get stuck with it some of the time. So um, the pick, I mean, if he wasn't the number one pick, I think that would be okay for what for if he was the second pick. But man, you've got to always take the best available player that you can. And I think Sarr would have been a better impactful player coming into Atlanta. Even though here recently we've seen that the Hawks have moved on from DeJounte Murray. Um, Oh, not Murray.
Yeah,
what's- that's right.
Murray's
Yeah.
with New Orleans now. That's part of
So
our
they moved on.
trade.
Yeah. So they moved on from Dejounte. But you still have Trey there, and you still would have an impactful big man. Because that's one thing that Sar would have been able to bring to the table immediately, even if it wouldn't have been a polished NBA offensive game. It would have been more of a defensive side to the ball, which I think that was the biggest thing Atlanta needed anyway, was the defensive side of the ball. Uh, some additions on that side to help boost the defense. Um, and you can kind of move guys around and but you always take the best player. Now I can't pronounce his last name. Rashard.
Oh, you talking about Zachary
Yeah,
Richey or whatever his name is? I mean,
Rashard.
we'll go with
Rashard.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
the French guy.
yeah, he's 6'9" wingman, which is typical NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be different if he was a 6'11" wingman. You know what I'm saying? Like 6'9" is
Hmm.
about your wingman anyway. So it's not like he's bringing you anything that's you know I eye popping and all the way that like I say, sometimes you get a bigger wing guy, you know, Kevin Durant, Giannis, size wise coming into the league. So, well, just it's just one of those. Atlanta ended up Atlanta, and again, if you want to call it that, man, we'll just see how he goes. I just think you take, regardless of whether you have 9 big men or 10 big men, if the big man is the best available
Hmm.
player, you just take who's the best available, man, and you work all the rest of that stuff out.
Well, here's a question to that. Well, comment to that is like in what we're hearing about Sar is that Alex Sar didn't want to necessarily play in Atlanta. Like he wanted to go to Washington for some reason, and according to some of the reports, it's like he didn't want to play center. And then I think we touched on this before, but in this era of basketball, where's the centers anyway? I mean, you pretty much can float around and do anything you want to do anyway. And then I think you mentioned it before with Capella on the roster, on the current roster. Why would you even say that? I mean, you more likely will be the four anyway.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just one of those. I don't know what's in Washington other than Atlanta has always been more of a cultural kind of a center. Atlanta's a international city, so you can get in here, get from here to get to anywhere. Washington the same way, but there's I just don't see the especially who you're playing with. You're going to be going to play with Kuzma up there and Poole. That ball ain't gonna swing that way. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for the offensive side of it, that ball ain't swinging your way that often. And Kuzma actually had a fairly decent year this year, so
Yeah,
he's gonna get his touches, and Poole is gonna come in feeling like he should get more touches. So, I guess like you say, everything has its ups and downs and its ins and outs. But if you're a basketball player, you're gonna play in Atlanta 3 or 4 times a year anyway. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't want to play.
yeah,
Like, well, I don't want to play a certain position. Like you say, where are you going to play at in Washington? I mean, I'm not
right.
1,000% on their big man, but so they're going to put you at the four if that's where you want to play. I mean,
Yeah, you're gonna play 4 or 5 anyway. Like that's
anyway,
just the way the
yeah,
game is.
that
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
So
that's
I
just
guess,
it.
yeah. So I guess in that realm, like for the Hawks, I guess if he didn't, since he didn't want to play for the Hawks, I guess hey, I guess don't bring somebody in that don't feel comfortable with being with you anyway. It seemed like the guy that they did draft wanted to be a Hawk. They compare him to Klay Thompson. So if he's the next Klay Thompson type player, it may not be a bad pick since they did trade Murray. to kind of have him alongside Trey Young. But again, you got to see what else is going on. I know Jalen Johnson's on the team. He's a promising young two-way player, and I
Yeah.
guess the Hawks are trying to bring these two-way players in to kind of offset Trey Young, kind of like Allen Iverson when he was with the Sixers back in the day when he was making his finals run, where they put like the Derek Keys, some good defensive two-way type players around him, and then let Iverson be the focal of the offense. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's what the Hawks are doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Snow and
something like
uh,
that.
who else
Derek
was on
Snow,
there?
yeah, Matt Geiger and Aaron McKee,
McKee.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
guys like that. Yeah. Even Tyrone Hill, I think, was over there at that time
Yeah.
for a stretch. Matt Geiger. So they kind of had the type of guys around a smaller scorer. So maybe the Hawks are doing something similar. And we'll say this: the Hawks, for as much criticism that we, including myself, give the Hawks over the years, they have hit on some picks like Al Horford and Josh Smith, even Jeff Teague. They hit on him for pretty good. Uh, Trey Young. So we'll see. Maybe in the end of the day, this will be the better move for the Hawks.
And the one thing that you can't get away from, like you say, you don't want to bring in somebody that doesn't want to be there. That's going to cause a headache with your first year coach, and all that kind of stuff. So, like you say, yeah, you want to if you want to make it as smooth as possible, to get everything and everybody going in the right direction, and then like you say, Richard, if I'm pronouncing his name right, he did look like he was wanting to be in Atlanta. So we got to take that part for what it is. So
Yeah. Well, he got to deliver. We'll see if he does. We'll check him out in summer league and at least get a little look for that. Here's some other picks on the that's on the board here from the first round. Um, Man, for me, the this was probably one of the and I'm an NBA fan and I'm you know supportive of the draft and things like that. But it just seemed like for some reason this year this draft just didn't bring it. Not saying there won't be players in this draft that won't become, all stars or contributors to their team long term. But it just feel like this draft is kind of off, bro. But what are some of the things, other aspects of this draft that caught your eye?
like you said, you had a whole bunch of European players, international players, not just European,
Yeah.
but international players that are coming over,
Hmm.
and that seems to be it's been trending that way for a little bit of while anyway, as far as like how guys are going in the NBA. Um, if you want to get into a tangent real quick, that kind of
Yeah.
means that we maybe need to reform the way that we as America are approaching our sports and just about everywhere else. You have all these young guys, football, we call soccer, but football, um, basketball, baseball, they get into professional aspects of it a lot earlier than we do here in America. And so, they've seen it, they played against it. When you're 16 and you're the best 16-year-old around, and that's all you're playing against. It's different when you get to playing against a 25-year-old, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
um, so when you add those things in together, you see that the international players are coming in a lot more apt to play at a ready NBA level, and not necessarily our American players who seem to be behind the curve a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Now you're always gonna have your standout players that are beyond the average guy. But and that's what you draft for. You try to draft for. That's why the teams that are not as good get the pick so that they can improve their teams. Um,
Yep.
and so, I think that's one thing that we can even look at some of the guys that weren't drafted, that were kind of high prospects that were coming through, and you see a lot of those guys, either didn't get drafted or kind of fell into the second round or didn't get drafted at all. And you, like you said, you see a lot of these international players who have gotten picked, and it's just you know we may not know their name, but somebody's doing their due diligence as far as like picking these guys up and finding out how they are as basketball players and how it's going to translate to the NBA. So, um, as far as like I say, us in the U.S., we gotta, we gotta step it up, man.
Well, I think with the and you let me know if you agree with this, but I think a lot of this is kind of systematic, um, however you want to look at it. But the NBA, ever since the '92 Dream Team, pretty much introducing the NBA to the world, is it's been a steady, gradual process of like introducing the game to the world, opening it up even more, and then the NBA does the NBA without borders, and now they got the Africa League, and just it seems like the league, even all the way up to having this in season tournament. That's a European style thing to have an in season tournament, and it just feels like the NBA, along with their rule changes, allowing the game to be more free flowing, all this positionless stuff people want to talk about. I think all this stuff has led to opening the floodgates even more for players across the world to jump in. And I think that's what we see in these drafts. Like that's the results over the years. More and more, non-players from the United States have been really impacting the draft. And I'll tell you a player that I have my eye on. His name is Nikola Topic, and OKC drafted him. And he's a big guard. And I'm not saying he's gonna come in and be like, the next coming of Magic Johnson or anything like that. But again, they draft a big guard, and he's a foreigner, and he's going to fit their system, and he's going to be an impact. Now he's not going to play this year because of injuries and things like that, but they already picked him now because they feel like he's a top 10 prospect, and they're going to stash him for later. And that's the kind of things that we're seeing happening a lot. I'm with you that I think the development phases are different. They're more skill based, and then we're more run up and down the court base, and that stuff is starting to take a toll. And look no further than the draft. As a result, I mean, you can't use no better litmus test than that. But that's one of the players I was looking at as far as the foreigners. What do you think about a player from the U.S., Reed Shepard, going number 3 to the Rockets? Did you like that pick?
Um, for what he is, I mean, yeah, he's you know, I'm gonna say pedigree, but he's a confident shooter, um, and I guess they're looking for somebody to kind of fill in that void, or to go with what's my guy's name, Jalen Green.
Yeah,
Is
oh
he?
yeah, the power forward. Oh no, you talking about the shooting guard, Green? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Green. That's in the
so
backcourt. Yeah.
yeah, so you'll kind of have that backcourt situation. I guess they're
Hmm.
trying to shore that up maybe. Um, but the one thing that we about Houston, man, and if they're listening to Udoka, I think he has the type of there's types of guys that he likes, and if they're going to let him coach, I'm pretty sure he had a say in who they necessarily wanted. And then the other thing is like, you know this wasn't, like you say, this wasn't a knockdown drag out draft. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like 4 or 5 picks that were just like no brainer kind of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't anything like that. So everybody's just kind of picking and deciding what they need and the you know the best available player to each team. And you know, I think I didn't watch Shepard a whole lot, but I heard he was a good shooter. So that's one thing. Again, like you said, the way the game is set up now, that even kind of some guys that are a little slighter in size are able to they're going to be able to kind of get open, especially if they can shoot.
Yeah.
That'll help them.
Did you watch Zach Edey? Did you watch him pretty much this season?
Yeah, I watched. Yeah, now I did watch him a little bit more.
Yeah. What do you think about him in Memphis?
Uh, I think that you know, s- that'll be a good fit for him. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Um, I think he'll have to get in shape a little bit better. Because I think they would like to run the ball, a lot more. And the last couple of years they've had Adams, Adams who's been hurt, and I think that hurt them as far as having an inside presence.
Yeah,
You're not just relying on um, Jackson to to buckle down your inside. So he'll be able to come in and like for a big man, he has some, he has a few moves around the basket. He's 7 foot tall, so you know if nothing else, if he gets in and he plays hard, you can get in. And that's the one thing that you can't teach is height. There's certain aspects of sports that you just can't, you can't teach speed, you can't teach uh, height, you can't teach arm length. You know what I'm saying? It's just certain physical
yeah,
skills
those
that people have.
attributes.
They either have them,
Hmm.
yeah, attributes that you either have or you don't have them.
Yeah.
So, but I think you'll be all right, Memphis.
Okay, another player that people talking about, and I heard this before the draft. A lot of people are high on Klingon from UConn, I guess the big
Yeah.
man there, and
Hmm.
Portland drafted him to be in the I guess to be their pivot player. But you think he's legit? Because there's a lot of grades that are coming out saying that was an A pick right there for Portland. You think he's gonna translate in the NBA?
Again, yeah, if you watch him, he's been in the system up there at UConn, two-time national champion. Um, I think Hurley plays his guys. He played his guys really well. Um, One thing that I hear about him, being a big man, that he's pretty smart as far as like how he learned how to defend shots. He doesn't leave his feet to just, he doesn't leave his feet until after his man, like whoever he's guarding has left their feet. So he's learned how to time, as far as like blocking shots and getting rebounds. He plays good defense without picking up a lot of fouls. And that's one thing that a big man that that's a real attribute for a team, to have a big man that can come in, play defense, control the area, get rebounds, get blocks, and not get in a lot of foul trouble. That's
Right.
one thing that would definitely make you a good prospect. So, what do you think?
I think he's gonna be okay. I think he's went to the right team. I mean, there's nothing for him to lose by going to Portland, right? There's nowhere but up in Portland. Their draft pick at number 7, realistically, they should have been the top three. That's how far down the pipe about Portland is. But for them to get size, I think size is something they needed. So like I said, you can't teach height, and being a uh, college champion like he was, and playing for that team, that franchise. I mean that university it's a good fit for them. So drafting him, I think, makes sense. Um, where in a draft that doesn't have anybody that really, really just eye popping,
Hmm.
at least they know they can get a big, what I'm saying, in this draft and somebody in the middle. And I even jump on back to the Memphis pick because you said something that's very key, and I think a lot of people may not pay attention to it like they should have. But Steven Adams gets injured a lot. In Portland, I mean, Memphis is usually in the mix, and then they lose their big man, and then they get into the postseason, and they get ran over because they didn't get the rebounds that they need to get second possessions, and then it puts Jaren Jackson in a position where he got to basically play center, where it takes away his versatility, being playing outside, inside, and outside. So I think just by getting Edie taking up space and getting the return of John Morant, you know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be a team that we got to account for next year. So I think getting those two big men were good moves by those two teams.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like you say, we kind of threw Memphis out a little bit because they were hurt pretty much all
Yeah,
season, and they were never a big, you know they weren't a playoff team or consideration. But yeah, it's gonna be real interesting, man. Like you say,
yeah,
if they get getting somebody in there, um, that can rebound, and like you say, even with that now, you can bring Adams off the bench, or this guy off the bench, and just you don't have to wear your big man down.
yeah. And good. And look, they were just a 2 seed last season, right?
Yeah.
I know we talk about the Wolves being a 2 seed this past year, OKC the 1 seed last this past season, but Memphis just last season was a 2 seed. So for them to be a 2 seed and to be in like in the lottery, like we know that's because of the absence of John Morant. So we'll see what they do next season. I think they're going to be right back somewhere in that top, five in the West next year, with a healthy Morant. We might as well jump to our team, man. The Lakers, Dalton Connect. Uh, I'm hearing nothing but amazing things about this pick. Like it's the greatest pick of all time. Um, and I don't know if that has to do something with it being the fact that it's the Lakers that made the pick, or is it because LeBron's on the team? But what's your real thoughts on that with Connect? And for those who don't know about Connect, Brunch for your answer. Connect, I think he was the SEC, maybe SEC Player of the Year. Played at Tennessee for 1 season, but he started in JUCO, junior college level. Then he went to Northern Colorado to play Division 1. Finish out of there. I think he did 2 years there. And then in that fifth year, that COVID year, he transferred to he signed with the SEC team. Uh, and he hit a major growth spurt. Like he's like 6'7" or something like that. But he started out like in high school about 5'8". So he hit some major growth spurts. But with that said, man, what do you think? Do you think the Lakers really nailed it with this pick?
Yeah, for where, like you said, for where we were in the draft, and for the player that we got, I think we did an excellent job. That's one thing that we have always done. And in the last 10, 15, we've drafted well. We've been
Yeah,
able to
we're gonna keep
even
him.
sometimes yeah, like you say, some of the lower picks or even the upper picks, but wherever we've been, we've drafted well. We have found we found diamonds in the rough. We found people, that weren't highly rated or highly graded guys coming out of college and all these other places, but we picked well. Our thing is we just won't hold on to them, but I ain't finna get into that conversation either, but there's a reason why. But, hey, as far as where we were, and oh, hold on one second for me, John, real quick,
Yeah.
man.
All right.
Uh, it's on
But
the.
yeah, you talk about Connect and he was talking about Connect, and we'll get Brandon's thoughts on that in a second here. He got a mission that he has to accomplish, but I'll just throw my thoughts in there. I think it's a good pick. I mean, obviously, he has some skill. Whenever you're like player of the year in your conference, you got to have some strong skill sets. It kind of I remember when Lou Williams, he was he did a great job in the conference, and look at what kind of career he had. Just all depending on the type of role. But if nothing else, Connect does bring scoring. Seems like he brings the ability to shoot, but more importantly than that, we talked about his growth spurt. So he's bringing it from the height of 6'7", which is very effective. And so we'll see what happens as far as him playing at the NBA level, and with him being playing on the Lakers. See where his role is. Of course, it's going to be an adjustment period, but we'll see where that all goes with Connect. But I think it was a good pick. I think it was a solid pick, especially when a lot of the scouts pretty much had him projected to be a top 10 player. And so for the Lakers to pick at number 17 and get a gentleman that was highly projected to be in the top 10, there has to be a win with that pick. Now, the next thing will be is what do the Lakers do with this player? What would the Lakers do with this player? And we'll get to that after Brendan gives his thoughts on Connect. Welcome back.
Okay, sorry about that. Had something from my mother-in-law, so I had to get her straightened out.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, like I say, just like again, I think he's a good, solid player. And again, for the Lakers, our draft, our draft team, the guys that do our drafting, I think we go in and we find people, and we find the right players that are gonna help the team. We needed some shooting pretty bad, and so I think he's a good shooter. Um, and just he'll come in and he'll be able to fit in pretty well. We can possibly, I don't know what they're going to do as far as how the lineup is going to go. Um,
Yeah,
as far as like how that stuff gets set up, how you want to do read and everything. But I think you like you say, you take the best available player that you have. And like you say, he was a depending upon who's grading him, he was one of the higher setup players, and it's just one of those where sometimes you get lucky and the guys fall to you. And I think we drafted well, with him for the 17th pick.
yeah, I agree
I
with
think we
that.
did well.
Yeah, did well for that pick. I will,
Mhm.
I will have to like think about it for a moment. Just trying to, I've been trying to find out why he dropped. You know what I'm saying? And I can see where, okay, teams at the very top like Alex R and Zachary and Shepard, I can see some of those guys. They're going um that early, but why did he fall to 17? That would be my only. Just my only little thing. Now, of course, the Lakers are not concerned about that. Lakers feel good about it, and so the bottom line is, does your team feel good about it, the player that they get? But I'm just curious as to why he dropped. If he was so good, why did he drop to 17? Um, and that
Where
would be
was
my
Giannis?
only thing.
Where was Giannis picked? What was Giannis like?
Yeah, he was somewhere in that middle.
14.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just, just because, like you say, sometimes you get starstruck and you get to looking at, I think this is the kind of opposite way of it. He was probably somebody that was um, under, I don't want to say
Maybe a late
undervalued,
bloomer or
but
something.
yeah, or they didn't get a, good look as they did. And I think a lot of the international players, I think that's one thing that is kind of hurting the U.S. game is you got a bunch of these international guys that you have to look at now. And sometimes, like you said, the cat out of the Oklahoma City drafted,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just some of those nobody, like sometimes unheard ofs or sometimes people who you don't know exactly who they are. Sometimes I think the U.S. kids are maybe falling into that kind of a light now, even though we may see
Hmm.
them on a daily basis or we get a little bit more exposure to them. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the NBA teams are, you know, they're probably paying attention more to the international guys and kind of ranking them
Hmm.
that way. And so, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what you said about Giannis. And I guess even in Giannis' case, like, okay, he wasn't like the Giannis that we see, well, we've seen over the last 5, 6 years. Like his body, his size, all that stuff wasn't there at that time. Maybe potential was there, but it just wasn't all there yet. And they projected well. I mean, the Bucks made a good pick with Giannis at that time. And again, guy like Kawhi Leonard, he went a little bit further down in the draft, and Paul George, who's somebody else we'll talk about later when it comes to free agency. So maybe for our team, maybe Connect can turn into something. We'll see
I
what the
hope so.
team does, though. Yeah, we'll see what the team does to help facilitate that. And speaking of the Lakers, let's go ahead and combine the Lakers and the draft and go ahead and get to that second round. That pick number 55, uh, Palinka, JJ Redick, LeBron, they all decide to take Bronny, number 55 in the draft. So uh, do tell, brothers, what is your, honest take on this part, man? Did the Lakers do the right thing?
No, not as a not for their organization. They did not do the right thing. Again, people are going to give you this whole spiel about you know the father son, this duo, and first time in NBA history you'll have the father son combo. And hey, man, that all that stuff is absolutely true. If LeBron owned his own team and he was still playing on it, this would be like you can do what you want to, but as far as my my take on it and the Lakers being a Laker fan, you you've got to try to make up for some of the for some of the decisions that we made in prior bad decision making, we got to kind of like you said, we kind of got to get some steals somewhere to help our team out. And I just don't see, you don't take a 6 foot tall kid who has a heart condition, take away his name,
Yeah.
just take away his name, and nothing else gives you any kind of a thought about drafting him. Nothing else. And and everybody wants to get this. Well, LeBron has controlled his own narrative, his own career, and da da da. Okay, well, that's why he's lost 6 championships. Too. I mean, he's lost in the final 6 times because he hadn't. He's never allowed himself to be coached. So call that part of it too. And again, it's a great thing if you want to look at it in a certain light. But as a fan of a team, you want your team to always try to do the best thing they can do. And do second round picks always make it? No, they don't always make it, but my thing is you're putting a big old bullseye on his back, and the way that if he does get put on the team, you're putting him on the team because he hasn't shown you anything as far as like his even in his college games. We knew with Kyrie, he only played like 11 to 13 games when he was at Duke.
11. Yep.
But
Hmm.
there was no mistaking what Kyrie Irving could do. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like we needed to see what he could do. Bronny
At the
hasn't
same
given
height.
you, yeah,
At the
and
same height. Yeah.
Bronny hasn't given you not one thing to tell you that he's locked in. He's locked in at a position. He's at 6'1", he's got to guard your point guard. How many of the point guards in the league can he guard? None of them. He ain't gonna be able to stay in none of them. He can't stay in front of any of the starting guards. You know what I'm saying? So let's
Yeah.
go ahead and get that nonsense out of the way. He can't stay in front of any of those. So now you're creating a defensive liability for your team. You know what I'm saying? And my only problem with them drafting him is if you the way it's been going is like, okay, you take him, you put him on the team. Now you're going to be forced to play him, and if you're going to be forced to play him, then what is that doing to the rest of your team? How is that going to handle and translate into the rest of the team? The way everybody else goes about handling being professionals. You know what I'm saying? And and then again, you're going to put your team in a bind because he can't play point guard in the NBA. He's not. He's not a point guard in the NBA right now. I don't care. This ain't no hating on nobody. You know, he's just
Well, then
not.
they well then they said they were going to take the ball. Well, I'm hearing that JJ Redick was saying he's going to take the ball out of LeBron's hands. We heard that before from Magic Johnson when LeBron first signed with the Lakers, and we know how that went. Didn't change. And so again, you just said it. Bronny can't play point. D'Angelo Russell came in. He basically was relegated to a spot up shooting role. So it looks like LeBron's gonna have the ball in his hand again, based on this type of move. So, I think that's going to be an issue. Going back to what you were saying about an issue, where how is this going to really pan out? And to me, man, I think obviously this is about the entertainment piece. This is about a narrative. This is about a story that LeBron wants to have, you know, put into his book and his movies and future movies and stuff. Because at the end of the day, after Bronny was looked at by a lot of the by the scouts, it's pretty much was unanimous that he was not draftable at this point. And so for him to go through the entire first round, because you remember just about a year ago, he was projected to go 17 in the draft. And for him not to even be in the first round, then the projections dropped even after him playing in the combine. It dropped to him not even being drafted. So for him to fall all the way to 55 and no other team picked him, and the Lakers only had like maybe one or two picks behind them, you could have just let him go into free agency, and then you could still like bring him in to the summer league team and all this other stuff and see if he can stick. that tells me that they wanted to have LeBron's camp wanted to have Bronny's name called so that they can say he was drafted into the NBA. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you don't, it wasn't as widely televised as it was, but he's 55. He's, they had a draft party for him. Who has a
Right.
who has a draft party for 55, man? Come on, you up there, you up there crying like like bro, you would already know you was on the team. Everybody knew what was going on. This wasn't a this wasn't a and let's just be honest. This wasn't a surprise. This was nothing that was,
Right. It
you
wasn't.
know, the surprise would have been if they had did like you said and not drafted him. That would have been the surprise. Like, oh, okay, we actually got some kahunas or something, but no.
Yeah.
Um, we're gonna
Yeah,
we're gonna fold.
and then pick him up. Yeah, then pick him up
Yeah,
next week, and then just say, "Hey, come on, play with us in summer league." Boom, and then
dude,
try to make the team that way, or make the G League team, or something like that, or
dude,
make some other team.
you got 3 or 4 guys that I was looking at. Guy out of Creighton, Trey Alexander, shooting
Okay.
guard. He doesn't get drafted. Justin Edwards,
Mm-hmm.
small forward out of Kentucky, pretty good player. He doesn't get drafted. Um, our big guy DJ Burns. When he was first coming into college, I didn't do my research enough, but he was a big time dude coming out of
Right. I
college.
think. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And he's I think the Cavs have picked him up to like a summer league. He's on their summer league team. Um, but you got guys. Um, what was this guy that I looked at? What was his name? McCullars Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Was that? 6'6", small forward. Um, had 5 years. Sorry, but a developed player, and and he goes later, and it's like, come on, man, y'all are just picking him up just to appease one player, and so like, what does that translate to anybody else? I'm only going to do this because of this, or I'm only going to do that because of that. It just goes to create a whole bad. It's a bad stench on the organization as far as I'm concerned.
He wasn't even the best prospect on his own team. His own college team.
Yeah.
Wasn't even the best pro prospect. The guy on the closer to you on the screen, I think he just signed with some team in like some foreign team, and
Okay.
he's gonna try to work his way to the league. But like it's night and day, and it's like I don't, it's one thing. People just need to call it what it is and stop trying to dress it up and say, "Oh yeah, well, you know, it's a great move by the father for his son and all this kind of stuff." Like Bronny James already won in life. Like LeBron already did his job as a father. He's provided generational wealth for his kids already. So let's not try to spin it that way. Call this what it is. This is a narrative driven thing. And
Hmm.
this is something for the LeBron James story. And if you call it like it is, I'm good with it. But all this other kind of stuff is just crazy. And I hear a lot about Giannis' brother, Giannis. What I think is
Thanasis.
how you say his name, Thanasis, right?
Yeah.
6'7", 6'7" versus 6'1" for starters. The other thing is he was drafted, but he was drafted like that was separate from Giannis. Giannis didn't say, "Hey, pull me in the league." And by the way, when Giannis was drafted and when Giannis was drafted, Giannis was still a nobody.
Yeah.
So people try to fast forward it like it's the Giannis that was winning MVPs and Defensive Player of the Years and going to the finals and stuff like that. That wasn't that Giannis. That wasn't that Giannis. It was the Giannis that nobody talked about. The Giannis that was underdeveloped. The Giannis that wasn't even 7 foot yet. He was about probably 6'8", 6'9" at the time. Like he didn't even grow into his body yet or anything. He was still a project. So that's not a good analogy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't, it doesn't match up.
yeah. Comparing apples and oranges, not two, yeah,
Yeah.
not two things the same at all. Um, Now, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't one of his other brothers? Didn't he play with the Lakers that won a
Uh,
championship? Was that one of
yeah,
them guys?
there was one of them that was on the bench, and we can verify if it was the same one or not. But
I don't
I
think that
know
was,
that
but
no, it was
but
another brother. Yeah, because the Thanasis went to the was drafted by the
the,
Knicks, and then
the
he
Knicks.
played on the Knicks G League team.
Hmm.
And then he also played in other countries. And then like 5 years later is when he signed with the Bucks.
He worked his
So
way. Yeah, yeah. He worked his way
exactly.
back to. Yeah, he worked his way back, and now at that point, I have no problem. Now, hey, now that one, that's cool. Hey, man, yeah, you gonna give my brother a job, but at least he could do it. You know what I'm saying? At least he could do the job. You
At
know,
least
that's
he
yeah.
went through it.
That's like,
Yeah.
you know, that's like, you
He
know,
proved himself.
yeah, and that's my only issue with this. It's like you wouldn't do not tell me that if LeBron James he was the world's best heart surgeon, and Bronny James had failed he went in and he failed his board exams, and he was unlicensed to be a medical doctor, that you would be saying, oh, this is what we should, you let him mess
Man,
on your heart there. You know what I'm saying? So no,
yeah.
quit trying to compare the things. Yes, doctors make doctors kids and lawyer, yeah, but the kids still have to do the job. They still have to work and get what I'm saying, they still have to do the work and be qualified to do the job. And that is my only issue with Bronny James. He is not qualified to be in the NBA.
He had the opportunity to prove it and he didn't prove it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
He went to
And that's
college, he went to the combine, he did all these things and he didn't prove it.
and that's one thing that even his agent, who likes to, again, narrative driven guy, likes to bring up some well, you know, we can go back to 2016 and, the 8, 9, 10, 16 pick, that none of these guys are in the league. Okay. Well, that's even more of a point that you're making,
Exactly.
that these guys who were talented enough to be picked as high as they were, because, you talking
Didn't
7, 8, 9, those are lottery picks. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And when lottery picks don't pan out, that's something else. You're not just going to sit up here and tell me that some kid who really shouldn't be drafted is so, he's just because of his dad, that he's so um that somehow passes straight to him. That didn't work for Jordan's kids. It didn't work for Pippen's kids. You know what I'm saying? Like these other kids had to work and
Shaq's
find their
kid.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shaq's son. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Penny's. Like these things are not 100% just because your kids are your kids, and that's the only thing with this right now.
That's
It is
typical.
it
Hey
is
man,
it is
that's
100% LeBron James and Rich Paul, and this is what
yeah.
we want to do.
But see, they know that they have a fan base that'll just if they tell them to jump in the lake, they'll jump in the lake. So
Oh yeah.
they'll say stuff and not even put facts behind it, things like that. Like we just talked about Thanasis, right? Put some facts behind it. It changed the whole story. Like y'all just made us some mess. So bad example. You know what I'm saying? Pat McAfee. I love Pat McAfee. He's in WWE. He loves wrestling. I do too. But he was way off too. Like when he threw out the Thanasis Antetokounmpo example. He needs to stick to football. You know what I'm saying? Like use the look up the stuff first and really at least dive into it for a second before you start running your mouth about stuff. And that's the same thing about Rich Paul. I ain't got nothing against him being an agent and him helping these guys make money and LeBron putting them on and all that. That's great. But when you start doing narrative driven stuff, trying to push people in this direction, you know what I'm saying, to kind of spin it off. Like, no, you're not gonna get people like me and you like that. We're a little bit more savvy than that. And so, you know, just take it for what it is. You set this thing up and because look at this, Brundage. Agents will tell players when they fall about as far as like Bronny and all these guys were way deep into the end of the second round, they rather not get drafted and be free agents and just try to get in as an undrafted free agent. You know what I'm saying? Which ties it back to they just wanted to have this image, this video of his name being called in the draft. That's all this is. So let's just call it what it is.
Yep, that's
Yes,
it.
sir. Uh, yeah, man. So okay, I think we hammered that enough. I think 65% of people agree with us on that, and then the other LeBron fans won't. All right,
Yeah,
man.
everybody else who's a LeBron fan, yeah, that doesn't, yeah, they watch
They'll come up
Sports
with
Center.
something else.
Yeah, they watch
Yeah,
Sports Center and listen to LeBron's podcast with JJ Redick, and that's about it. So,
yeah. They'll say, man, back in 2011 when such and such got drafted, he got drafted and didn't make it. Okay, all right. So just come up with anything. But yeah, man. So let's get to free agency, man, because today's the day. Matter of fact, probably about another 23 minutes, we'll start hearing some names drop, man. And let's start with one of the big names, man, Paul George. Man, it's rumored that Paul George is going to be pursued by Golden State, and we'll talk about why he's going to be heavily pursued by Golden State because there's a reason for that, and it may deal with a player that can shoot. Um, but man, Paul George, man, Golden State's on the board. The Clippers are I'm hearing not necessarily want to do this, but Golden State is all in on Paul George, according to reports. And I think Philadelphia and Orlando are other teams that are kind of in on Paul. But where do you think he's going to end up?
what do I think he? Well,
Yeah,
I'll give you two parts real quick. Where he should go, if he could go there, I would
yeah.
definitely go to Golden State. They have a they have a winning culture. You can get in there. And like I said, I don't want to. I'll let you drop the bomb on why, but we have seen why. There's some space that's there in Golden State now that wasn't there
You can
before.
do it. You good.
So
You can
no,
drop it. You can drop the nugget.
no. But we like I say, now do the Clippers? I think the Clippers are wanting to, but that they're hitting a high ceiling on that luxury tax or whatever it is that once
Yeah.
so they're going to be paying out the wazoo if they keep him around because he's in that $200 million mark to to be able to be kept around. Possibly, I heard Philly was a landing spot. I don't know if I'm Paul George, man. I mean, I don't I don't want to touch Doc Rivers and Embiid with a 10-foot pole, man. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't. They have a good team. I think they've got some good pieces. I think you've got some good young talent. Um, but unless Embiid wants to work and be at that next level and showing that he's going to be committed to being a better lead man and a better number one option as far as like his health, his availability, and the things that he's going to need to do to be your team leader. Um, I don't personally, I wouldn't go. But again, they may be one of the ones who has the money that can pay him what he wants to be paid. And then with Paul George, man, I think you're at the point to what is it that you want? Because I think he's made tons of money. You know what I'm saying? He's made tons of money and he'll still make some more. Um, but that Golden State, if you're if you can play alongside Steph Curry, man, who is, the last 15 years, who's been the best player in the NBA in the last 15 years? It's been Steph Curry. He's
Wow. You got him over
he's changed
LeBron.
the game. Yeah, yeah. Consistency. Uh, you know, uh, just a good organization though. They take care of their players. Um, and then sometimes you get even to a fault for this team, as far as Golden State to a fault. There's a couple of, Draymond should have been gone. I'd have cut ties with him after that foolishness with him last year. But,
Yeah.
they held honest to what they were, um, you know, being obligated to him to, or still being committed to him. So they were fine on that. And then, like I say, I can't think of anything or anywhere else that I've known, but I wouldn't go to Philly. I would go to Golden State, especially if they're,
Yeah,
if they're willing to get you, especially if they can get one guy with some size, man. If they could get them like a center, like a bona fide center, they would be the team that could really come out of the West.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Uh, Orlando is a popular spot for a lot of trying to of team. If you're trying to, if you're a veteran player, you want to play around a young talented team that's got a budding superstar, and over there, I think Orlando's a spot. They got the cap room. Philly, yeah, I think on paper, Paul George going to Philly looks good, but I think we kind of seen that story already. We've seen them bring in, you know, like Tobias Harris and guys that we thought were going to really flourish in Philadelphia, and for some reason, it's not working with those type of guys. So I'm not 100% on Paul George in Philly if that would like lead them to a championship because of the style of play of Paul George, and then you mesh in and be like, and then you got Maxi. I don't know if Paul George is even going to really be effective enough to kind of get them over the hump in a place like that. I think he needs more usage, and I think, like you said, in Golden State, I think he'll get the usage that's needed because they're going to end up losing this guy, Clay Thompson. And so there's a big void there. And look, I like it. I mean, not him leaving, but I like that if they do get a Paul George, it keeps him close to his mother because his mother had a major stroke, back years ago, and so she gets to go to his games in L.A. And so just kind of keep her close to him, and he still has a chance to win a championship. He'll be on a championship level type team. And what Golden State has been missing is a mid range type player. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
Paul George can stretch the floor with the three, but he also can play like in the middle, in the mid range area. And you still got Curry that shoots from way out, from way outside. So I think it can kind of work that way for them. But with Klay Thompson leaving Golden State, man, a couple places I'm gonna throw out there, and you can tell me what you think. I think first of all, I think the Denver Nuggets because based on what we saw in the playoffs, the way teams have been kind of pressuring Doncic, not Doncic, the Joker.
Joker.
Yeah, they've been pressuring him a lot more, and then you can see like the wear and tear on Jamal Murray just in that first round against our Lakers. You can see how it really took a toll on him in that by that second round. I think having somebody like Clay, with them possibly losing Caldwell Pope, I think if the Nuggets want to make a serious continuous postseason run, they might need to bite the bullet and spend some money and get them a Clay to help open things up. And boy, that would make Joker probably average a triple double for real. So that's one place. Dallas, I think they do need somebody else that can score besides the Luka Kyrie thing because you saw what happened in the finals. And then Orlando, that'll be a spot where he has nothing to lose. As long as he helped them make the playoffs, Clay earned his money there. So what about Clay, man? What do you like to see for Clay?
Yeah, some of those some of those same destinations, somewhere where he can be either a second or third option. They're not going to ask him to carry the load, because even now we see that he's not able to do that. He's never been asked to like carry a team or be the lead scoring team, but paired up well with Curry, he always could get his shot. He could get his shot off. He could score. But man, those knee injuries have really hurt him. And he hasn't looked the same way. These last couple of years, even that, the championship year, he just still hasn't looked the same. And so, I think for him somewhere, like you said, to go somewhere where you, I'd love to have him in Atlanta,
Yeah,
somewhere, is something kind of like that. It would be kind of the same situation you would have with Golden State as far as like, now you got a big two that can help your small guard out. He wouldn't be asked to just be the domineering player or anything. But like I said, I don't know what Atlanta's looking like in money. Um, but yeah, like you say, I did. If we're gonna hop back a little bit, but Paul George
Yeah.
to Orlando would be good. I think what's his name, Bankero.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
He's showing you that he's gonna be that guy, man. He really is. And so uh, it's just you for both of those guys. I think you have to find the right fit at this point in your career. Um, Paul George more of the side where you want to go to a team that's either that's contending for a championship or that's right there on the cusp of it. And with Trey, I mean, not with Trey, but with Clay, more of a team where even like you say, you got a team that's needing that veteran that's going to be on there to help bring them up to the next
Yeah.
level and push
Hmm.
them forward. I think that'll be more of his, that'll be his biggest attribute to a team is his championship pedigree, his leadership, the fact that he'll be able to show guys that and like you say, somebody that's just on that cusp that doesn't necessarily need him to be the number one option, but more of a 2-3 option. So
Yeah.
like you said, man, Golden State is always taking care of the guys. And it's just at this point now, maybe he doesn't. You got an agent that's telling you one thing, and the rest of the world's going to tell you something else. So he'll get out there and see what his market value is worth, and anybody should be able to do that. You ought to see what your value is to other teams, and then you get to kind of pick your situation.
Yep. And you mentioned earlier about the Hawks when we first started this episode today about the trade, and so there it is right there. Dejounte Murray traded to the Pelicans, so he'll be teaming up with Zion Williamson and even at this time Brandon Ingram, as well as what's the little guard, CJ, little
CJ
CJ
McCullough.
McCollum. Yeah, so this is a nice move for the Pelicans. I think is needed too. Like this is that extra firepower. Also, we know that Zion and Ingram, they do get injured and they do miss time. And this is another way to kind of ensure that they can keep the boat afloat too. When you look at that injuries, and so I think for as a team building perspective, this is a good move for them. For the Hawks, is a good move too because remember the Hawks didn't have a 2025 draft pick because of this same player, right? They when they made the trade to the Spurs, but they now have recouped that pick, which is actually the Lakers pick when they Lakers had traded for Anthony Davis. So now all that's closed up now. That Anthony Davis trade with the Pelicans and the Hawks actually are now back into the draft next year, which I'm already hearing that next year's draft is supposed to be the draft. So whatever we thought of this year's draft, scratch that. Next year's draft going to be even better. So that's that part of the trade there. It's going to be a lot of movement going on, I think, in a couple minutes here with the free agency period. And another name, Burns, that has come up is Kevin Durant. Do you think Kevin Durant will end up in Houston? There's a lot of push I'm hearing from Houston that they really want Kevin Durant. They really want to get a veteran in there with the young talent that they've built, which means obviously they have to trade somebody out. But what do you think about that? Do you foresee Durant somehow getting over to Houston?
Um, I don't know. I mean, just being honest, I haven't
Yeah,
I haven't did my research on that. But if you're just
yeah,
asking me, do what I think
yeah. Just
now,
see.
if
Mhm.
as far as like him going to that team, I think it would. I think the experiment that he's tried to do up in Brooklyn and over in Phoenix is it doesn't work with the big three deal. You can't just bring guys and shove them together and think that it's going to work. Um, if looking through you know the Houston Rockets roster, whatever, they've got some
Yeah,
people. Van Vliet's
yeah,
good. Green is a good young talent. Smith,
Sengun in the middle.
yeah, Smith out of War Eagle, a Auburn
Yep.
player. So
Hmm.
my guy Abrams, I think he was from is he from Texas? So he was another Texas kid, if I'm not mistaken. But you have to find good coaching. You have to find somewhere where it's a team. That's the one thing that we can look at now and see how the NBA is going forward. We've moved away from this almost need of a big three kind of a situation, and it's going back to um, the big seven. You need seven guys to win a championship. You're going to have seven people um, play their roles and be part of a team. And you know, Houston's a big city. It's a bigger place than you know Phoenix or well, not Brooklyn necessarily, but bigger than that, bigger than Golden State. And so and Houston has had they've been champions. The city's had championships before. Um, I just don't see the situation in Phoenix. I don't see it getting any better for Durant. And if he's in that process again of trying to maybe push for another championship, I think you have to go somewhere that's on the cusp now. Talk about somewhere now. Him and Orlando would be a doggone. That would be a stick. But I don't know how. Don't know how that would work out. That really would. That would look good. Him and Orlando. Um, but it's the same. Kind of a setup we always kind of get with certain players, and where can their next bit of accomplishment come from, and make them better, and or make their resume better when you get through looking at them. And um, I just I don't know. Houston, like I say, Udoka, I like him as a coach. Um, and I want to say that they picked up somebody else. I don't know who they drafted with this pick for the draft or anything like that, but um, Houston wouldn't be a bad place. But like I say, Orlando, especially over back in the East, where it's not quite as much competition as that West is. I would be trying to move East if I could, just because Boston. I mean, you got Boston, you got Philly, and you got the Bucks, and then shoot after that, it's just kind of wide open. Um, but it's just one of those situations where if um if the if the right team comes along, if for him, I would be making that push to get there and try to get me another championship if I could, you know. And like this kind of works itself with LeBron and some of the other things, man. Like you can't be you can't get out and demand all this high money, high money, high money, and then say, well, I don't have help. Well, you're not going to get help because you can't pay they can't pay you $75 million a year and think everybody else is going to come in for the league minimum. That's not going to work.
Yeah,
So,
and speaking of that, Brandon, LeBron, there's some reports now saying that he's willing, like, because he did opt out to be a free agent. So since we are talking about free agency right now, he's technically a free agent, or he should be going to be one at 4 o'clock. Like he's going to be a free agent, and uh, with all accounts, he's going to obviously opt back in with the Lakers. But the thing is, he's saying that he will opt in for less if the Lakers can bring in another star player. And, so that's what he's saying.
why
But
ain't did that? Why his ass ain't did that 4 5 years? We
hey
could
man,
have been did that. Could have been did that. We wouldn't
well,
even be in the situation we're in now if never mind. I don't even want to get okay. I
I
won't
mean,
get
I'm just
riled up.
yeah, we just
I won't get
reporting,
riled up.
what's going down. You're right. But so yeah, that's the new talk now is that he's willing to take a pay cut so that there can be another star player. I don't know how many more star players are needed. I mean, we just talked about it's the era of building teams. So it seemed like we were trying to go against that grain again. But hey, that's what's the talk.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You don't need star players. You just need solid. You need solid role players. There's nothing. You've got in every account, everything I've seen over the last, even the last 3 or 4 years. You still got LeBron James and Anthony Davis ranked as two of the top 10 players in the NBA. You don't need
that's
anything
enough.
else. No other team,
Right.
no other team has that. So
Yeah.
you don't need the number two ranked player in the NBA. You don't need the number. You
Yeah.
need some solid role guys. You need some
Right.
guys that are going to come in and play a role, understand their role, and do a good job, and that's it.
Check. Yep. You're right. Because think about it. Who's on OKC? They were on one seed, right, in the conference in the West. All right. Who's on the Wolves? Ain't nobody really talked about anybody on the Wolves for years. Everybody clown on Gobert. Everybody clowns on Cat. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? He ain't never did nothing. Ain't never did this and that. All the other players, you don't count them. Anthony Edwards is developing, but still, he's not LeBron. He's not level LeBron or AD or none of that. So you're right. It's about the team. You know what I'm saying? It's about building your team the right way. And now I'll say this: the Lakers have a lot of players have opted back in already. So basically, everybody's on the team from last year has pretty much that had an opportunity to opt out. They're all opting in. So you're coming back with the team. So I think the team's good to go. Like that. How about the star players do what they need to do? We always need a shooter. Okay, work on your own shot. Be a more reliable shooter. Be a more reliable free throw shooter down the stretch. You know what I'm saying? There's things that can be done just in house. And then now we just drafted Connect, right? That's supposed to be another great pick, so he can help the bench. If he's coming off the bench. Austin Reeves, another year in the league. You know what I'm saying? So I think we already have what's there. You know, going with that, need another star and all that model. We need to get away from that.
we don't need another star. I really would. I would like for us to get a big man. I really would. I would like to stick. I would like for Anthony Davis to go to the four where he's the most comfortable. Just somebody with some size. Um,
Jackson Hayes, he's back. Put him in the center, move AD to
yeah.
power forward.
Well, we had a guy named. We had Zubac, which he's solid. The
Yeah,
player that you need, the player that you
yeah.
need to play beside Anthony Davis, not going to ask for the ball, gonna get in there, hustle, get rebounds. You know,
Hey man, you're right. You're right. All right, two more things before we go, man. All right, and since we're talking Lakers, let's go ahead and do it. What's your thoughts on JJ Redick being hired as the head coach? I don't think I talked to you, on the show since then.
uh,
J-
I don't. I mean, I don't. I don't know. As far as like the
You like the move? How about that?
no, I don't like the move. Um, the move is kind of it's going along the same line that has been going on the last 5 or 6 years, which is we have to appease LeBron James and make sure everything is okay for him. Um, and it's you know if you're gonna build at some point we have to understand LeBron isn't gonna play forever. He's not gonna play till he's 52 years old. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you at some point he's gonna stop playing basketball, and at some point you have to start reconstructing yourself to build forward. You know what I'm saying? Um, Again, long line. We drafted well. We found guys that we needed. We had a pipeline and a system in place, and that got pushed out the door. The thing that with a player like LeBron, and again anybody that's a great player, you have to have somebody that's going to push back on them. Um, I don't know JJ Redick. JJ Redick doesn't have the resume to push back on, at this point in his career for LeBron. You know, um, not enough. He's never been an assistant. He doesn't know how to. I mean, there's a whole lot of nuances that go into being a head coach, not just calling the plays and walking up and down the floor. You got to
Right.
know. everything about your team, everything about your organization. You just about got to know everything about who you're playing. I mean, not just about, but who you're playing against. Who are your guys that are going to be on the bench with you? Where does that knowledge come from? Who's helping you? Uh, who's helping you do that?
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, you got the thing for Cassell. I think he would have been perfect. I would, like I said, I would have liked to, bitten a bullet when Udoka got in trouble and went and just grabbed him then, and let
Yeah.
time heals all wounds. They'll forget about it, just like he's down there in Houston, and everybody forgot about what happened in Boston. It's gone, and water under the bridge. So, uh,
Yeah.
but
Let,
Cassell is gonna get in here somewhere and make somebody. He'll be a good coach. But he, same way, man. Like point guards seem to be they seem to make better coaches because they're kind of in that mindset of knowing what everybody else has to do on the floor. Um,
yeah.
and Reddick, he sounds intelligent. He looks the part. He looks LA. He looks LA. He
Yeah.
he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and we probably do too when we on this podcast. That don't mean we know what we're doing. Yeah, that doesn't mean we know
Hey
what we're doing.
man.
We get on the sideline. Like there's a whole lot of
Yeah.
pressure that comes in there that
I,
puts you under. And so for us to have had this is our fifth coach, what I'm saying, in the last 5 or 6 years, the fourth coach in the like, come on, man. We gotta get something and start there and just go forward from there. And maybe he'll surprise us. I don't know. I've already made my public declare. I'm turning my Lakers stuff in until that
yeah.
LBJ family leaves my team. When they leave, I'll come back. There's not
yeah.
there ain't enough room in there for both of us. So since he's they pay to see
And
him.
obviously, there's obviously not enough room. And then, like with Sam Cassell, 15 years as an assistant coach in the NBA. That alone, come on, man. And then success as a coach, success as a player, champion, all star, all NBA player before. Championship just last year with Boston Celtics. He had a lot to do with that. You know what I'm saying? Like that it just makes it made sense to bring in a Sam Cassell if you're gonna bring in somebody. Now, so now are we gonna hear the fight about this? Or well, a lot of people backing off of this one because of JJ Redick. So and they like JJ Redick or they like LeBron slash JJ Redick. But where are the people at now? Screaming at the heels for this because Sam Cassell is obviously well deserving of an opportunity to be a head coach, and there was an opportunity right there in Los Angeles for him to be the coach, and that was passed up. So we'll see, man. It's looking crazy right now, bro.
It is. We just
Yep.
gotta. We'll take it.
Okay. Well, before we go, man, Jason Tatum now has developed his plan. He's developed. He's developed his plan now. So his son Deuce will be drafted in the NBA down the line. So this is the new wave now that LeBron and Bronny have now set. Is that now future players are now going to get their plans together to get their sons drafted as well and play on the same team. So don't be surprised down the line where Jason Tatum is in year 20, a year 18, whatever. Let's do the math. I don't know what it is. Year 16, 17, and Deuce is going to be drafted by the Celtics.
Well, the only thing about that is you better be good for all the one thing you cannot take away from LeBron James is he has, like him or not, um, he has played at a high level. He has earned the right to still be a top 10 NBA player. You know what I'm saying? He's still that good.
Yeah,
And
he's
so
he's he's great.
and
Mhm.
so that portion of what he does as far as his side of what goes on, there's no question about that. I'm not questioning that. My thing is, okay, yeah. I played pickup ball with my dad, but like that was what it was. We played ball. We played pickup ball together, and to say, oh
Yeah,
well, it's such an accomplishment for him to force his son. No, like man, no. I mean, but the same people that are telling you that will get upset when they go to work and they've been at a job for 15 years and they work their way up, and then you know now they're working for Junior, which we understand as part of the family business. But dang, at some point, you want to be recognized for the work that you do. And like you said, Brian set up Bronny. If he never picks up a basketball again in his life, he'll never have to worry about money. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
He'll never have
So
to
he's
worry
already
about
taken care
finances.
of.
Yes,
Yeah,
and so
he's
like
already taken care of.
yeah, as a dad, he's done the greatest thing. Now, what is he going to do now? He's going to wait around till the little girl gets in the WNBA. He gonna make sure he's the only person to have a father, son, daughter. I'm the only one with a daughter that's in the WNBA. Is he gonna stick around for that? So like, come on, man, stop
Well, we'll see, man. You don't started a new one, so we'll see if that's in place too.
it.
Hey, Brandon, see what you done started. All right,
But
so we'll see what happens
nah,
there.
he started that
All
crap.
right. Yeah, man. Yeah, but it's been cool, man. We're gonna get together again, chop it up. You know, I learned a lot today from you, and man, I'm ready to keep an eye on this free agency period now. And so we gotta chop it up about that probably later on in the week or next
Yeah, yeah.
weekend. But we'll see where everybody land, all the pieces fall, and then we can start getting our early predictions, man, and watch some of this summer league.
Yeah, and that's the one good thing about it. Like you say, you kind of get the you 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 kind of look forward to free agency because, like you say, this is where the like basketball, especially now, gets the hustle and bustle of guys moving around and teams that were right there on the edge. Like, oh, okay, now when they add this dude, oh man, that's a good pickup, or oh man, why did they do that, or
Yeah. Hmm.
just like I said, even look at bridges to New York, and like I said, we ain't got time
Yeah.
to get into that, but like that's for there. I think that's a good pick. I think they're gonna move Randall, and I think they're gonna I think that team's gonna be pretty good. They're gonna have to move Randall
Yeah.
though. You can be there with them, but like I said,
Yeah.
we'll get into
Randall and
it.
Brunson. Randall and Brunson dribbling, that's a lot. That's a lot of dribbles right there. So I don't
Oh yeah,
think, and that's the beauty of what happened with Brunson this year too, is that he had the opportunity to do all this because he didn't have a Randall on the court too. And
right.
and and we saw little bits of it with him in Dallas, but again, he was playing with Luca. So we actually saw Brunson be able to have autonomy, you know what I'm saying? Have all the usage rate he wanted. And so we got to see how he kind of alters
And
her game. But I think what you're saying is the fix that you may have to
yeah,
move Randall for that to happen.
oh yeah, Randall's gone, and then like you say, for that to get you, maybe another solid player to put in with those guys, man. They already got, they got some pieces, teams. You know what I'm saying? Like they went in and they didn't force anything together. They've drafted the pieces and the guys that were free agents. You pick those guys up, and that's it.
Right.
It's not like anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
great time, man. Yeah,
All
good
right,
talk.
man.
Good talk.
All right, we'll chop it up later. Have a good day. Everybody have a good one. Appreciate
All
y'all.
right, bro. Yes,
Peace.
sir.
Peace, love, and hair grease.